Welcome, everybody. Today, I want to dive into and talk about what I'm calling the midlife awakening. How to turn what could feel like a midlife crisis into your greatest possible calling, especially if you're over 35 and you're wondering, is this really it? Because, I don't know, if you've been feeling that slow burn of restlessness, or if you've ever caught yourself looking around at the life that you built and you've been thinking gosh, how did I end up here? You're not crazy. You're not broken in any way. You're definitely not alone. I hear it all the time from parents who are balancing millions of family demands and entrepreneurs who are trying to keep the wheels turning. And even if you're an employee within an organization grinding through crazy hours and you're feeling stuck, you're all feeling stuck inside of these lives that just don't fit anymore. All wondering if maybe, just maybe, that you were meant for a little bit more. Well, the truth is that most people aren't going to tell you, and they're not going to talk about, is what we tend to call a midlife crisis isn't a breakdown. It's actually just a wake-up call. And you need to flip the way you look at it that way. It's your life tapping on your shoulder and saying, hey, you're not done yet. There's so much more you can do. And that restlessness that you're feeling, it's not random. It's actually totally normal. And it's actually really important, part of how we grow between the ages of, say, 35 and 55. It's your inner wisdom kicking in and letting you know, hey, it's time for maybe something deeper and something more real. Now, I know how heavy that place can feel. When you're stuck in the questions, it's hard to show up as a parent or as a partner or as a leader you want to be. And it's hard to find passion in your business, or it's hard to show up and work and care in the way that you used to. But here's what, I also know. You're closer to breaking free from that than you think. That tiny spark of there's something more for me, that thing that you're feeling, we can build real momentum off of that thing, and we could really start to drive this thing forward to where you live a way more fulfilled life. Now, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of this book. It's called The GIVER Method. It is an Amazon bestseller. It has all sorts of 5-star reviews. I will put a link in the description so you can go get a copy for yourself. It's the best $10 you could invest in yourself, helping to transform people's lives, live them more fulfilled lives, discover their gifts and superpowers, deeper relationships, and really find that meaning of who it is that they're meant to be at no matter what stage of life that they're in. Now, if you're not ready to invest the $10 in yourself, I think you should. But if you're not, I'll put a free resource down in the description as well to something that I call the Giver's Roadmap that helps you get the process started. Now, I technically get nothing from that. I make nothing off of the books, and I make nothing off of you getting access to that free resource. But what I do know is that it's going to help you to start your path forward in unlocking those pieces, these initial pieces of discovering how you can get to that next step, how you can break free from where you're at right now. Now, what I want to do is over the next few minutes, I want to walk you through these 6 steps and principles that are going to help you to turn that midlife, restlessness into your more meaningful chapter, the most meaningful chapter maybe you've had yet. Even if life feels crazy busy, even if you're carrying a lot of responsibilities, and even if you're not sure where to start, these aren't just good ideas. They're battle-tested strategies that have helped thousands of people just like you find their way back into who it is that they really are and showing up authentically and building that life that fits what they want. Now, before we jump in, of course, if you're new here or if you have not already, please hit subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. I don't want you to miss out on any of the content we have about unlocking your gifts, your superpowers, creating that kind of impact that you're here to make, right? I'll also put down in the description the links to the other places you can find us on social media and our website, so TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or at thegivermethod.com. All those sorts of places, all right? Of course, along the way, if you like the video, if you want to comment your thoughts along the way, comment your thoughts, okay? So, you ready to dive in? Let's start with this first principle, this first idea, and that's how you turn restlessness that you feel into maybe a roadmap. Because that feeling that you've been carrying, like you're restless or something's just off, it's not that sign that you're broken. It's actually just an internal GPS trying to get your attention. We've been taught to call these things a midlife crisis, but honestly, that's not what's happening. We're not having a crisis. Actual data-backed research, it actually shows that restless feeling between maybe 35 and 55 is totally normal because it's a natural shift. Your brain has finally matured. Your values have gotten clear to you. And suddenly the stuff that used to feel just fine to you just doesn't anymore. It's like your soul's way of tapping you on the shoulder. Hey, guess what? It's time for what's next. You're not falling apart in any way. You're waking up, and it's a really good thing that's happening. And so instead of fighting the restless or trying to drown it out by being busy, or, how about we get curious with it? Maybe you start a journal where you track those restless moments. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be a note on your phone or maybe a notebook. And every time you start to feel that tug of distraction, just write down like, okay, well, what triggered this? What might it be pointing towards? What part of what I'm feeling like what do I feel like I'm ignoring as a part of my life? Maybe if you feel like, some examples would be like, if you feel drained after a meeting, don't just brush it off. Maybe it's a clue that you crave more creativity or deeper impact at work, and sitting in endless admin meetings isn't going to be where it happens. So like, just take once a week, carve out maybe 10-15 minutes. Like I said, I understand as a parent, an entrepreneur, an employee working crazy hours, like, you're busy. So take 10-15 minutes and just look back over these moments that you type out on your phone or that you write in that notebook, and see if any patterns pop up for you. That restlessness isn't random. It's basically your brain starting to leave you breadcrumbs, if you're willing to go follow them. Because when we stop treating that restlessness like it's a problem and start shifting it as like a guide, that GPS, that roadmap, everything shifts. You stop thinking that, man, I'm broken or I'm in crisis. Start realizing that, gosh, I'm just being called to something deeper. And here's the deal. Ignoring it won't make it go away. It just buries it deeper until it could explode later. But if you listen to it now, if you pay attention, you can start building the life that you're really meant for, one small step at a time. Now, the second thing we want to cover is about building your wisdom playbook from that point forward. So the thing is, by now, you're carrying way more wisdom than you probably have ever given yourself credit for. The things that you've survived, you've built, you've fixed, you've figured out, fallen flat on your face, you've gotten back up from, that you've been celebrated for. It's all sitting right there waiting to be used. But most of us are too busy like staring at what we haven't done yet, that we miss out on the mountain of experience that we've already earned. And that experience, like, it's not just random brain and life clutter, it's a foundation for whatever the next chapter is for you. Like, so science even backs this up, that at the midlife, when your brain is actually wired to be better connecting the dots between what you know and what you feel and what you should do next. You're not behind, you're actually sitting on a gold mine that you just haven't dug into yet. So it's time to start pulling the wisdom out where you can and actually see it. So create maybe a wisdom playbook where, same thing, grab that thing on your dock on your computer, your phone, your notebook, and list out maybe 3 to 5 big challenges that you've overcome. And as you list these out, ask yourself things like, okay, what did this experience teach me? What strengths did I build from it? What do I understand now about, people or problems or patterns that I didn't know before? And then look for what you can carry into whatever's next. Maybe you're one of the ones that can see around the corner because like you've navigated through tough conversations so many times. Maybe, maybe you're the person who can build trust really fast because you've learned the hard way, what happens when it's broken. Whatever that thing could be, just start writing those down. Keep it real. This isn't a resume. It doesn't have to be any formal. Just it's a playbook of what you already know how to do well. And then set a reminder to check back on it maybe once a month. Add new lessons, tighten old ones, watch how it grows because it will grow and evolve over time. Because guess what? When you're stuck in this what's next headspace, it's way too easy to focus on what you think you're missing. And this wisdom playbook is going to flip that, remind you like, gosh, I'm not starting over. I'm building from something real. I'm refining what I already have in me. And the truth is that people who actually see and trust the value they've lived and experienced, they make moves faster. They make better moves. They aren't trying to reinvent themselves from scratch. They're just trying to evolve from the strengths that they've already created in themselves. Now, our third one is going to be that you want to follow your energy, not just your schedule. Now, that's something really important to focus on because if you're trying to figure out what you should do next or what's next for you, where am I going, then here's something that most people are going to miss. It's not about what you're good at. Just think about that. It's about what gives you life, what builds you up, what creates energy. Because here's the deal: you're going to work, you're doing work that is connected to your natural gifts and superpowers. It actually feeds your energy, even if that thing you're trying to go do is challenging. But when you're stuck doing things that don't fit who you are, it drains you even faster. And even if you're technically good at it, think about it. You could just work for hours on a project and love, that you love, and walk away feeling lit up. Meanwhile, 30 minutes of doing the wrong thing leaves you in wanting you to crawl under your desk. Meanwhile, gosh, look at it this way. It's not laziness. That's your inner compass trying to tell you something important. So what you want to do is for the next couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks, maybe just run a little experiment, and at the end of each day, jot down maybe 2 quick lists, like what gave me energy today and what maybe drained me. Keep it super simple. Don't write big essays, just highlights, and be specific. Work is way too vague. You can't just be like, I worked. Like, okay, well, was it the creative part of your job that fired you up, or was it the team meeting that sucked life out of you? And then after a couple weeks, go back and review it and look at the patterns. Those things that are leaving you feeling more alive, even if they're hard, those are gold mines pointing straight towards these gifts that could become superpowers for you. And then set up, I always call like these energy zones or these energy times on your calendar, energy anchors that you could have. Like, make it a goal to schedule at least one energizing activity into every single day, maybe if it's only for a few minutes. Especially on days where you are loaded up with stuff that you know are going to drain you. Because here's the real kicker. Once you start spotting what gives you energy, you can start shifting your life to include more of that. Maybe you delegate some stuff that's draining you. Maybe you rework your role a little bit. Maybe you start to carve out a side project that lights you up. Like, the small moves have massive payoffs for you, because your energy is one of the most reliable signals of what these gifts you've got based off the things that you've built. And when you start trusting it, you move from grinding through life to actually flowing through it. We've been taught that if something feels too easy or fun, maybe it just doesn't create value, and that is garbage. The truth is that the work that feels energizing, the work that you could just do all day instead of gas in the tank, that's usually the work that you're meant to be doing. So follow your energy, and you'll find the lane that you need to be in at this time. Now, the fourth one is all about, you need to build your personal highlight reel, okay? Because the thing is that when you're stuck in that midlife questioning, it's super easy to get caught up in what's missing. What you haven't done or what you wish you could have figured out. But the real clues to your next chapter, they're hiding in your highlight reel that you may have. Like the moments when you felt the most alive, making a difference, where you feel like you were exactly where you're supposed to be. So in previous principle, we talked about what are the things the hard things you've come from and that you learned from it. Now this is about what are the big things I've done? What are the positive things that I have in my life? Most of us spend way more time beating ourselves up over what went wrong than actually studying what went right. And that's a huge miss, because when you slow down and you actually look at the moments where you shine, you are spotting the patterns that point straight towards these natural gifts and superpowers that are going to light you up. So set aside a little time, no distractions, and just think back over your life. What are the 5 to 7 moments when, I just felt like I was on fire in the best way? Times when you're proud, you're energized, you're super fulfilled. They don't have to be big headline moments. Honestly, some of the best clues, show up in the small stuff, like helping a friend through a hard time, leading a project in a very specific way, pulling together people in a group, a community, for an event that just worked. And then dig in the why behind each one. What made that moment stand out? Why were you so effective? And why did it matter to you so much? And then just dig deeper. Maybe it wasn't just about logistics. Maybe it's because you were, created an environment where people felt heard. Maybe you build spaces where people can thrive. Once you spot the different types of patterns that are there, you start seeing the threads that connect the best moments together, and those threads start pointing you towards that calling. If you're a visual person, you could even make a highlight reel board, a timeline, a mind map, whatever feels good. Keep it somewhere where you can see it when doubt creeps in, because that highlight reel isn't just this feel-good exercise. It's the blueprint for where you can create real magic. The bottom line is that you already have receipts of the things you've done that you've earned. You've already been doing the work that matters. You just need to notice it, trust it, and build on it from there. Now, the fifth one is going to be all about, it's about integrating, not reinventing, because one of the biggest lies about finding your calling in life, especially after 35, is that you have to blow up your whole life and start over. You have to quit your job, you have to sell everything you own, you have to move to the mountaintop. It's an all or nothing thinking. That is a huge trap that people fall into, and it keeps way too many people stuck in that frustration, believing that change is either impossible or reckless. Because the truth is, the next chapter isn't about starting from scratch. It's about building on what you already have that's so good inside of you. It's about integrating your skills and your experiences and the wisdom, all of it, into something that feels more true to who you are. It's an evolution, not a demolition, right? The different type of research I did as a part of writing the book showed that people who integrate their past into the next steps that they're trying to do are 65% more likely to actually shift, have that shift they're doing stick, compared to those who try to reinvent everything from scratch. So go grab a notebook, open up a fresh doc, build out what's your experience map. Like, start by listing the skills, experiences, the relationships you picked up along the way, even from jobs or roles that you kind of over now, right? And then ask, like, how could this skill transfer to somewhere new? Where might this experience actually be an advantage? What doors could these relationships open that I'm not even seeing? You know, for example, if your management skills, you want them to be wasted, then gosh, like, what make you feel like be a natural mentor, or a group facilitator? Maybe, your years of handling finances could help nonprofits or a community organization of some kind. Like, maybe raising kids gave you these leadership and patience and creative problem solving skills that a business would kill for. And then the key is that you have to design these integration experiments. Like, okay, well, what are the small, low risk tests that you could do, to see how your old skills could show up in these new ways? Things like offering to run training at work, or mentoring somebody, or teaching a workshop on a topic that you know inside and out, volunteering for a cause. Like, whatever the thing is, there's all sorts of ideas you could do. Just start small, tiny even. Prove to yourself you don't have to reinvent what you're doing. You can just repurpose what you already have. And it's so powerful, because thinking you have to start over, that's going to be paralyzing. It keeps good people stuck in these good enough lives, because like burning it all down feels like it's way too risky. But when you realize you're not starting over, you're building on what you already have inside of you, everything's going to shift. You move from fear into that momentum. You start seeing your past not as baggage that you're trying to ditch, but the toolbox to build what's next. Integration isn't just the safer path, it's the smarter one, and it leads to changes that are going to actually last for you. Now, our sixth and final one is building your support ecosystem, because trying to find your calling alone, it's like trying to climb that mountain with no map and no water, and like no one to pull you up if you were to slip. Like, technically, could you make it up the mountain? Sure, but it's way harder than it needs to be. But here's the deal, like, these midlife transitions aren't meant to be solo missions. Once again, as I do this research, it shows that people who even have 3 strong supporters, it's like 340% more likely to successfully shift into a life that feels more real and aligned with who they want to be. And the problem is that a lot of us like look around and realize like we're surrounded by people who love us but kind of expect the same from us. That's why the last couple of videos I've done over the last little bit, you go back to the channel and check them out, are all geared towards like, what if someone doesn't support you? What if your partner, your spouse, your team, your whatever, what if they don't support you as a part of that? Like, it's such a big thing. They're not on board always, and it's not because they're bad people, but because growth, like, it challenges their comfort zones. That's why you can't just hope the right supporters show up. You have to build it with purpose. So sketch out your ecosystem. Like, what's my support ecosystem map? And you've got 5 kinds of people you're trying to build into your life. You need whoever's your emotional support person that believes in you no matter what. You need the practical support who can lend a hand and the resource when you need it. You need the perspective support who people aren't afraid to lovingly call you out or expand your thinking. You need someone with accountability, who can make sure you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And like, maybe the inspiration, like, who's the one that their lives remind you of what's possible when you change. And then write down who you already know for each type and be honest. Like, gosh, there could be gaps. It's totally normal to have some. So then the plan is like to strengthen your crew, spend more time with the ones who fuel your growth, have real conversations with the ones you love who might be holding you back, to set better boundaries if you need to. Go find new people. You're trying, like, I need to find the right mentor or coaching group or mentorship. Gosh, a mastermind, like just a small crew of people who have like the same midlife awakening journey as you. Like, now, a small tip throw out there to you: if you can't find the right group, then start one. There are more people like you than you think, and they're just waiting for someone to say it out loud first to be like, hey, I'm going to be doing this thing and I'm looking for people to join me. When you're trying to grow into a new version of yourself, you need people around you who see the new version and are going to cheer it on. Most people are going to stay stuck because they aren't capable of it by themselves, but because they're surrounded by voices saying like, why rock the boat? But when you start to actually build a circle of people who say like, well, why not? Like, why not you? Like, why not now? Like, you need to do this. Like, it's your thing. Like, everything's going to start to change. It stops being that lonely struggle. It starts being the supported evolution that you need. And you're going to get a whole heck of a lot more out of that journey. Now, we covered a lot as part of this video, from learning how to listen to those, the restlessness and building a crew that lights you up. But even if like just one thing that you take from this video, it's like, is midlife questioning, awakening. Like, it's not a crisis, it's the invitation. That restlessness, the itchiness that you're feeling, that you've been trying to shake, it's not a flaw, it's a sign. It's not a sign that you've messed up in any way. It's your life trying to get your attention, telling you, like, hey, it's time for something deeper and something real. So, like, finding your next chapter isn't about throwing everything away and starting over. It's about just paying closer attention to the things that light you up, owning your wisdom you already have, making those small moves to pull you closer to the life that you actually want to live, where you're have more generosity, you're using your gifts and superpowers to create value for people, you have a more fulfilled life. And you don't have to you don't have to have it all figured out to start. Like, you're not going to. Just start taking one small step. Pick something from today. Track your energy. Dust off those old dreams into a tiny, and find a tiny experiment you could do with it. Maybe sit quietly for a few minutes and actually listen to what the restlessness is trying to tell you. That whatever small move you pick, it's like it takes and it shifts you from that stuck into starting. Because real change, it's never going to happen all at once. It happens as a series of those small awakenings and the little moments where you say yes to yourself again and again until life, like you're living, finally starts feeling like it's yours. Now, if this conversation hits home with you, then 100% go get yourself a copy of the Giver Method book. It is so packed with like such real world strategies to help you discover and develop these gifts and superpowers and start creating the type of impact that actually lights you up. The link's going to be down below in the description. You can go get it. And hey, if I'd love to hear from you in the comments, like what thing seems like the hardest for you? What's one small move that you're going to try and make this week to start turning that restlessness into a real momentum? Just remember that this midlife isn't like the beginning of the end, it's the end of the beginning. Like, everything you've walked through, fought for, and learned, it's been preparing you for this moment that you're in right now. You're the most meaningful work isn't behind you, it's right here waiting for you to start showing up. So please, as we wrap up this video, keep showing up. Go discover those gifts and superpowers to start creating that impact in the world that you were born to make. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in our next video.